Okay, awesome. So I'm starting it now.
Sure.
And we're live. Hi, Anna.
Hi.
So, yeah, so I guess maybe just introduce yourself and I'll do the same, and then we could talk a little bit about, what we have planned.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is Anna, and I'm a mindset and lifestyle coach. And I work with people to really bring out what's best in you. And I do that by creating routines and kind of creating tools and methods that really work for the person um, to bring out what they want into their reality. So that's a little about me. And today I'm going to kind of approach the conversation from the angle of like mindset and how breath work together with mindset can be super powerful.
Hmm. Amazing. Yeah, that's great. So I guess my introduction would be, I come from the angle of breath work and meditation, and also the use of additional holistic tools, which have all been kind of put through the scanner of research and evidence and are scientifically based for helping with mindset, but also helping to release. Because as I mentioned, when we were talking, I was telling you that a lot of people come to me and they, try their best. They hustle for years and months and whatever, however long it is. And they really try to sort of do all they can that's in their control to be able to move that step further and up level. And sometimes they blame it on luck, and or it's just the wrong timing or whatever it is, or it's COVID or whatever it is. But I truly feel that regardless of whether if it's COVID or not, if you are ready for the thing that you want, the thing or the job or whatever it is, will find its way to you. But the tricky part is being ready for it, right? So you can hustle, you can do all of this work, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are creating a space where these new things can happen. And when I say space, what I mean is if you are not clearing out the old, if you're not putting down that baggage that you've been carrying, if you're not releasing that story that you've been telling yourself for years and years and years, or putting your history to rest, there's no space left for anything new to come, even though you are so worthy of it, even though you have put in more than more than is required. um, so that is sort of where I come in, and I guess the topic of
Yeah.
today.
Yeah, there's always a time period or a process where, I don't know, some people call it healing, but you could also heal it kind of like a clearing out or a reconfiguring of everything in your life. And action may or may not be helpful at different times.
So true. Yeah. And I was thinking about it today, and I was like, kind of thinking about this call that we were going to have. And I was like, think about your closet space, right? Like, if you have all of this clothes that, you don't really wear and isn't really your style anymore, you continue to collect, and your closet space is completely packed at like 120% capacity, where you're shoving stuff in, and you're literally not making room for anything new. So even though you do want to get X, Y, and Z, and you maybe do have the capacity to get it, chances are there's no space for it to be held within your mind in your house, right? So before we embark and allow things to come, and exactly like you said, sometimes action may not even be required anymore because you've done all the action. That's done. Now it's about the releasing. And this is where like breath work really comes in, because that is the name of the game with breath work. Like, it is just such a great facilitator in terms of helping people to release. And it, what's also important is that then you take it to the next step, saying, okay, we want to release and I want to release, right? How do I release? You have to release at the subconscious level, because that's where the change really happens. So if you're just releasing mentally and being like, yeah, I don't think about it anymore, it's cool, it doesn't, bother me anymore. But does it still have clout in your subconscious? Because if it does, then you haven't released enough yet, right? It hasn't freed up enough space where it really, really matters. So that's sort of where breath work can really come in to help you make energetic space.
Yeah, and the energetic space I feel is a really deep process that you can't really be totally aware of. And maybe you start with an action or a choice, but then how do you sustain, you know, that motivation or energy or momentum? And sometimes it's really by being kind of um, more relaxed about the initial choice.
Mm,
It's kind of like you chose a path and now you're just kind of walking on it. But maybe you're not walking, maybe you're just like resting more or something, because I feel like once you made that choice, you're kind of putting up a signpost to the universe, and then the universe says, okay, cool, I'll turn your car this other way, or like whatever way you want to go. And then really, you don't need to drive as much anymore, or sometimes you just can rest. Because I think the most important part is like really making a super conscious choice. And that's a different conversation how to do that. But I feel like breath work really works with that subconscious process.
yeah. So true. And the kind of, generally speaking, the kind of people that are drawn to breath work are really people who are super self-aware and have done a lot of work and really do put in that effort and are very kind of attuned with their own personal journey and their healing. And so work or lack of effort is the least of their concerns, and really they go above and beyond, and sometimes they even go like they do too much of work, right? I'm always like, calm down. But it's about that mental shift, which is even more important, right? Because without that, no amount of work would ever be sufficient, right? And then also there's this, I was listening to a video on YouTube by Satguru, and he was like, aura is basically the manifestation of all of your energy and all of your personality and all of your thoughts, past and present, whether it's financial, health, family, relationships, career, whatever it is, all of your thoughts kind of join together and manifest in the form of your aura. Now, if you're collecting all of this stuff, your energy field or your auric field is going to be really heavy, right? And, Western psychology and Eastern philosophy both agree that all of the experiences that we go through remain stored in our body, stored in our nervous system, in our fascia tissue, which is our muscle, and also stored in our energetic field, right? In addition to our psyche, so our memory. So now, if it's stored in our energetic field, it needs to be released, because otherwise, you can't absorb anything else. And so, things like so going back to that video, he was also then saying that in order to clean your energetic field, you need to bring in a new element. So whether it's the element of a water, like having a shower, element of fire, like they do this in Asia, they have like fire baths, element of wind, which is breath, which is also considered breath work. You're able to sort of open up this energetic storage space that you have that's been housing your experiences since the from the very first experience of birth. It's been housing your experiences, and now it's just ready to sort of like overflow, right? So this is when tools like this can come in and really help you to unpack and release. And it's sometimes it's not easy, because during the session people feel a lot of sensations, they get a lot of emotions, and it does become a little bit of a heavy process for some people. For others, it's very exhilarating, but for some it's hard. But that just means that there's unpacking to be done, and release is due, basically.
Yeah. And I love that breath work really, or the way that you work with breath work is this breath work, like the breathing parts, like a special breathing technique, and then a meditation. And it's always the meditation is always taking you into this theta state, which is like, for me, feels like a form of hypnosis. You're just like so relaxed. And then the music and the voice and the visualization all work together. And like, I feel like that's such a, uh, interesting way to support you on whatever, energetic journey or energetic change that you're working on.
Mhm.
And I feel like there's somehow this active element. Like when I do it, I feel like, oh, I'm doing something for myself. So I'm like super excited, but I'm also super excited that it's so relaxing. But
Mhm.
I also know that like whatever I'm doing, I'm not really doing. I'm just like allowing myself to really relax. That
Mhm.
whole process allows like almost like a faster transition, kind of like a
Mhm.
little bit of a shortcut into, bringing in like new pathways
Right.
to finding things. So I think it's like so interesting and like so powerful, like altogether.
Yeah. That's like your Instagram handle too, right?
Yes, I created that email actually
Okay.
years ago.
Yeah.
Um, and then as I was like doing other things in my life, eventually I was like, it's a great handle, it's a great name, it's like a
True.
great concept.
Yeah, it is.
Um, and it defines like literally everything that I've been doing for myself.
Mhm.
So it's been really like relevant
Yeah.
to me.
That's wonderful. So, like, maybe Anna, you can also sort of share a couple of tips that, with the stuff that you do with people in terms of being that like person who helps with reorganizing or reframing at least your mindset that can help with facilitate with a release.
Yeah. So I love the imagery you mentioned earlier around the closet, and like a mindset is sort of like a closet because you have different pieces and they're organized a certain way, and maybe you have like a lot of old stuff, some new things, and like there's a lot of stuff. And it could be packed or it could be clear, or you can like be thinking about what to do with it. So like a closet analogy is really interesting. um, but on the other side, there's um, two two specific tools that are really important in mindset kind of work. One of them is creating a reframe, and the
Okay.
second is using affirmations.
Okay.
Um, so the reframe would be taking a concept, it could be a word, a statement, a feeling, so any kind of experience, and giving it a new meaning. You're basically telling yourself, I don't like how I think about something anymore, which is kind of like a conscious decision. It's like the awareness part. It's like you reach an awareness. Wonderful. That's like kind of an action.
Yeah.
And then the reframe would be like you putting yourself on a new road, or like, shuffling your closet around. Be like, maybe I want to color code it or something. So if you're struggling with um, introducing a new habit, for example, you want to exercise, but you keep having the thought, oh, exercise sucks, exercise is so hard. It's like a whole set of thoughts around the belief that like exercise takes a lot of effort and motivation and stuff. You would want to reframe that whole belief or like those whole thoughts. So basically, you'd like shift some of the words, phrases, and meanings around that. So the reframe of like exercise sucks could be exercise brings me energy. Often a reframe includes like a more positive statement. So
Mhm.
basically, you take something that like sounds really critical and judgmental, and you bring in some positivity. And
Mhm.
it doesn't happen right away, but it essentially like works with the energetic journey that you're taking to like bring in something new.
Mhm.
And similarly, affirmations work like that. So in this case, like the affirmation would be like exercise is energetic, or exercise brings me energy. And affirmations could be statements, or it could be like a couple of, um, it could be like a word like energy. Like maybe you're working to bring more energy into your life and you're not really sure, like, is there a block, or are you bored, or like what's really happening? Maybe you're not at that place where you're clear about it, but you do know, you are clear that you do want and desire to be more energetic. So maybe that's like a word that you introduce and like, repeat sometimes. Back to the exercise example, the affirmation, be like, exercise brings me energy. So in your mind, you're starting to reconnect energy and annoying, and I'm sorry, exercise and annoying to like exercise and energy. So those are just some ways that, working with your thoughts and a mindset could
Mhm.
bring in a lot of the new desires and the new reality that you're kind of like working towards.
Right. And I love that what you're saying is, it's so simple, right? It's like, and it makes so much sense, but it's like common sense. But the problem is like, you don't really think about it in those ways when you're actually in it yourself, right? Like,
Mhm.
if I, for example, I mean, I love exercising, but if I hated it or if I didn't want it, then it would really be tough to sort of reframe it as like exercise gives me energy, right? So I feel like that's the beauty of having someone like you who can sort of like lay it out in such simple terms where it is like bite size enough for you to like for me to, or whoever it is, to be able to consume it and like use it to manipulate, how we think and how we see things. So I love that that's like such a simple, but it can really change how you associate the word exercise with the word exercise, right?
Yeah.
um
In
yeah.
general, I'm a huge fan of being like really nitpicky about words,
Mhm.
um, because our culture has like meanings, right? I mean, that's how we communicate. We have language. Um, and the beauty of language is recognizing is that we created it. Like it's a form of communication, and communication is how we want to communicate and like, transfer information. And what happens is that when a word is, used, we often implant or impart kind of like we take all the beliefs that we have about ourselves or what
Mhm.
we see other people and how they use it. And then we like use the words based on the beliefs.
Mhm.
So like the reframe and the affirmation really forces you to, you like, am I using this word in like a way that really helps me? Or am I like using it to criticize myself and like make things feel like weird
Mhm.
and uncomfortable? Um, so I've really been for years thinking about like, how do I choose words that, when words resonate, they have a resonance in the universe. So yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for that. Thanks for sharing that. That's actually a really nice way of putting things. Yeah, we create so much of these meanings and connotations that are subjective, right? So it's important to make sure that, we are using words that serve us, and help us to navigate, help us to navigate life, right? And see things the way that we want them to be. Um, so yeah, so thanks, Anna. I think this was like a really good kind of interesting chat. Um, Maybe we could jump back on and speak about more things later on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm like such a fan of being like super aware of the energetics and then combining it with that like really tiny like actions in your life. So I love what you do. And I think it's like so helpful and so relaxing.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, if you can help yourself and get relaxed all at once, like why not, right?
This is my motto. How do I do less but feel
And
more?
do less but achieve more. Why not? You know?
Yes. So
Um,
thank you, Remi, as well. This was really
Thank you
interesting.
so much. pleasure. Bye, Anna.
All right. You can stop.